We're live. It's on. What time is it? Hold on. Let me check this out. It's 6:43. As always, we're punctual at the broadcast, but that's okay. We've got information tonight. So, and we're going to educate this evening. We're going to talk about City Hall. It's going to be so much fun because tonight I'm going to impart some of this ridiculous information I have in my head and collected over the last few years being in and out of City Hall. So I want to talk a lot about that this evening. And we were just kind of gearing up for it, making sure I had a little game plan. We were eating a little bit as we like to do before the broadcast, so apologize for that. We want to make sure we were getting keyed up and ready to go. But we are here tonight filming live. Obviously, we ask you like it, share it, tag it, push this out. We had tried to advertise a little bit more on this one, and I don't know. Look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but we were talking about this right before we went live. I posted about the old broadcast show tonight, and it really got like zero traction. I just wonder if I'm being targeted, right? I don't know. Maybe I posted a keyword that got me flagged or something and put me in Facebook jail. I couldn't get out of it. I don't know. We attempted to advertise and push this out as much as we could tonight because tonight is an educational evening about City Hall, but it didn't really go very far. I don't know. I'm watching. I'm just saying. Maybe there are actual keywords that the man is watching when you post a keyword and you get flagged, removed, the algorithm catches you, and nobody knows what you put up on your page because you put the word, I don't know, what would be an example of a word? Saulo? Bill Clinton, Epstein? I don't know. You know, it could be anything of the... You say that? Yeah, it could be anything, right? Wayfair? Oh, I didn't just say that out loud. It could be anything you post and that the man flags you and sticks you to the side. So, like it and share it. Let people know we're going live tonight. Tonight's about information. We always try to start here this evening at 6:30. We're a little bit late, but we're here to also make sure that we are putting out good stuff, right? Data, information, ideas, so that you can become a more informed voter, citizen, advocate. Again, doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. I'm okay with that. I love to talk about any issue, any side. So wherever you're coming from in the debate, just share the information. I'm one point of view. You can also comment. Right, we've got Greg Brooks just logged on right there. Good evening, Greg. It's good to see you, Chief. Ray Rodriguez, our man, and Ray Rodriguez is posting zinc and queen. I posted the word hydrochloroquine and got immediately banned from Facebook. So, Cindy Lou, how are you? Michael Carranza, good evening. So we're happy you're here tonight. Like it, share it, tag it, push it out. But as always, up front, we always start by thanking the people who help us put the show on. And that begins and ends with this fabulous little arena we have here at Aligned Mortgage of Texas, the number one VA lender in the state of Texas, soon to be the nation. They focus, I got to tell you, like 80-90% of what they do is taking care of veterans, man. VA home loans, helping veterans own a piece of the land they serve, they protect, right? They oftentimes, you can't imagine, multiple deployments, families left behind, communities, right? Fighting for their communities. That's what a veteran does, right? They swear an oath to their country. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. They go out there and they earn this benefit. That's their VA home loan benefit. And that allows them, right, to get themselves access to purchase a home. And it helps with, so many different things. So it starts from no down payment to get into a VA home loan. They'll look at you as a veteran. A lot of times you'll go out and you look at different lenders across the country and they say, oh, we have these minimum credit scores to get a VA home loan. Those are non-existent, right? These things, the VA benefit itself is a gift from the federal government as a thank you for service in defense of your nation, country, city, home, street, whatever. So for you to use that benefit is huge. Less than 20%. I was listening to something Chris Cano, the owner, said the other day. Chris Cano is one of 3 owners of Aligned Mortgage of Texas. He said less than 20% of veterans use their VA home loan benefit. That's just crazy to me because it gives you the opportunity to get in the house with no down payment. So you got to think about those things, and it lets you take care of your family, right, too, as well. So home ownership, and I've always said this from when I'm talking about economic recovery, what it means to be a community, a city, a neighborhood. Home ownership is literally the number one path to wealth in this country. Always has been. Real estate, home ownership. That's the key. So as we talk about things tonight, like what it means for economic recovery, what it means for taxation, what it means for property taxes, how City Hall works and operates, what often gets left out of that is the fact that home ownership is a baseline of success and wealth for people across this nation. And we've gotten away from that over the years. And folks like Chris Cano, Tony Diaz, Cody Carrasquillo from Aligned Mortgage of Texas are doing all they can to help veterans simply own a home. So I know I drone on about it, but I get really caught up in it because it's exciting to me to say to somebody, hey man, you can own a house. like a piece of dirt. You can own it, and you build a house on top of that or buy an existing one, and your family lives there. It's wealth for generations, and you get passed on to your family. I just get jazzed up about it because it's important, and I believe home ownership, like we're going to talk about tonight, what are the things we can do as a city, state, and country to get us back on track, right? To get people back in wealth, back in people earning, restoring our economy. One of the main ways we can do it is home ownership. So we'll think about that. We'll get there, and I'll talk more about it this evening. So thank you to Align Mortgage of Texas, Chris Cano and team. We also want to thank AAA Garcia, AAA Bail Bonds, Garcia Bail Bonds. We love you. Louis Garcia, we appreciate you, brother. Family-owned business. He's been with us since the beginning, man. If you get yourself in trouble, you get rung up by a particular law enforcement agency, you end up down at the Bexar County Jailhouse, give the guy a call. He's going to help you out. Family-owned, San Antonio, small business, right? Working hard during the pandemic to keep himself and his family's employees moving forward. Give him a holler if something goes south. Remember, innocent until proven guilty, unless, of course, you're a Republican. So now, after that, I just had to throw that little caveat in there. You're innocent until proven guilty, unless you're a Republican or conservative, whatever you want to go with. But in any event, thank you, Louis Garcia, AAA Garcia Bail Bonds. And we also want to thank, let's go to Tyler Hall and Speedy Salt. Tyler is here tonight. Speedy Salt, he is always hustling to put salt in your water softener. He knows you need the salt before you do. He's the smartest salt guy on the planet. Small business owner. Love the guy, helps us out on the show. Always pops in. He's here tonight. Tyler Hall, we love you. Thank you. Speedy Salt. And, of course, two realtors that we always want to prop up and say thank you. If you're looking to buy a home, like I talked about at the beginning, you need an expert to guide you through the process. Brian Pena from the Torado Realty Group. He's with RE/MAX, Torado Realty. Give the guy a call. Other than the fact he's just a handsome-looking dude right there, right? Sexy. He's sexy. He's looking very chill. He's got a first responders buyers program, so up to 5% to cover your down payment, zero closing costs. And he's got some credit scores where he can shop you and take care of you right there. 580 is unheard of right now, so it's great that he's got lenders that can help him in that arena. But Brian Pena, Torado RE/MAX Realty Group, give him a shout. His number's right there, and you'll enjoy it because he's, again, San Antonio, small business owner, doing what he can. Thank you for always helping out Brian. And then, of course, Chris Marty with Rebate House. Chris Marty is a big friend of Align Mortgage of Texas as well, rebatehouse.com. Look, the number one thing you could do, and congratulations to Chris Marty, just had a baby a couple of days ago, baby Luke. On Tuesday. So another addition to the Chris Marty clan. We're very proud of you, Chris. Congratulations, and to Meredith as well. I saw the pictures. I'm pretty sure Meredith was doing all the work that day. But Chris was in full-on support, and we're very proud of Chris and rebatehouse.com. Always good to shop realtors because you never know who's out there and who can offer you a pricing that makes sense for you and your family. So thank you. Tonight, share your thoughts on the video. Put it in the comments. We are going to discuss this evening. So we got a great show, actually. Next week, just to give you a heads up, right? Next week, we're going to bring on, this is going to be super cool. We're going to bring on 3 or 4 retired police officers.
Can they speak now after they're...
Well, they're retired. Yeah, after you retire, right? If an active duty police officer attempted to say what he or she really felt about what's happening in the world today, I can tell you their job expectancy would be, the job life expectancy would be 0. Adios. If a police officer went online or firefighter went online or decided to come on a podcast and talk about, look, this is what's really happening with law enforcement. This is what's really happening at City Hall. They can't say those things, right? They're precluded from talking about what's really happening inside our city when it comes to public safety and their interactions with the leadership at City Hall. They can't say the truth. Now, they have a police officers association that speaks for them, but in reality, the officer themselves has zero protections, and they could be terminated or fired for their Second Amendment rights, right? They could lose their job for their First Amendment rights. Their Second Amendment rights, hello, the police officer. But for their First Amendment rights, they could lose their job on the spot for speaking their mind about anything. So, but when you're retired, we don't have to worry about that. So next week on the show, Thursday night, about 6:30, we're trying to line up a spot to go. I'm texting the man right now, see if we can go down to his place and shoot the broadcast there. But we are going to have 3 to 4 officers, and we're going to talk about how they really feel, right? How do officers feel about use of force? What does it mean to make a split second, a nanosecond decision when somebody turns around on you, right? And has either a cell phone or a gun in their hand? What's that decision-making process look like? What does it feel like when your leadership at City Hall does not support you? What does it feel like when the public is questioning you? All of these things. We're going to have a good discussion with them next week. We're going to sit around, and it's not going to be something formal. It's going to be informal, talking about how do you feel about Black Lives Matter? Can you be pro-police and pro-Black Lives Matter? Can you do both? So we've had the other side of the equation here. Reliable revolutionaries came in. We've had Antonio Lee, an activist and one of the members of the folks who were downtown at the beginning of all the protests, and I think it was the end of May now, wasn't it, Salo? So we've had that side of it. Now we're going to bring in the police officer side, and let's have some conversations. Let's hear from them. Fair debate, conversation, and let's make it happen. So next week, the broadcast is going to be huge. We'll start advertising that one, and it's going to be a great show. And we're looking to do it at a great spot, too, and hopefully we'll be able to announce that here pretty soon. So tonight's about education. One of the things I always get, and when I'm watching different shows, I watch Bongino. Anybody watch Dan Bongino? Yeah, Dan Bongino, right? Who's some other good ones that we're watching out there? Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro. And you can watch these podcasters, and they're also Crowder's hilarious. But there's great information flowing. And a lot of times people say, hey, you know what, Greg? What are some things we can do other than watching a podcast or other than listening or posting on Facebook? What are some tangible things we can do to make a change at City Hall? That's what we're going to talk about for the next 30 or so minutes, because I think it's important that you understand first and foremost how City Hall works. That's it. If you know how it works and you know what triggers them or pushes their buttons, you can affect the change. Because here is the hard truth about what's happening in our country, our state, but specifically in our city right now. Here's what's happening. The vocal minority has the microphone. Let me say that one more time. The vocal minority has the microphone. And in the absence of true opposition or counter arguments, that voice becomes the truth. And that truth becomes legislation, and that legislation will then affect your life, whether I don't care what side of town you're living on. If you're a resident of the city of San Antonio, one decision that's happening in the city affects you one way or the other. Because I'm here to tell you, yes, we're all obsessed with the Donald Trump, upcoming Joe Biden presidential campaign. Sure, we're wondering how Greg Abbott's doing. Yes, we wonder what's happening in Austin and other cities, in Portland, all that. But in reality, the number one level of government, that affects your life each and every day is your local elected officials, mayor and city council. So you have to know, right? So question always comes up every week, and I see it posting on here too. How can I do things to make a difference in my community or city? So we have to understand how things work, and I'll give you an example. Tonight we watched as the mayor and judge and a couple of other doctors gave the updated coronavirus briefings. And they sit there and they take questions and they answer and they move on. And obviously those have decreased over time in importance. They don't have quite as many people watching as they used to, but it's because it seems to be a lot of repetitive, if sometimes not counterintuitive information coming from them. So when I watch those things, I start to look at, okay, what are the basic bits of information and how does City Hall really operate and get things done? That's the most important piece. If you're going to be an activist, and an activist can take many roles. It could be somebody that interacts with their city council member, right? If you interact with the city council member, you show up at the meetings, you show up and you say, hey, look, this is what I believe. You're at your neighborhood association. You just do what's within your community, within your little neighborhood, right? Your homes and your neighborhood on your street. You're still an activist in making things happen. If you show up at the ballot box and you push that button and make a call and choose somebody, you're still activating your civic duty. But if you want to take it one step further, because if you believe what I believe, right? And this is what I believe. Point one, the vocal minority has the voice right now. They have the microphone. They're sitting on the pulpit, and they've got 11 people elected at City Hall. So in case you didn't know, there's 10 city council members and 1 mayor. They're all elected every 2 years in the first Saturday in May. That's the election. And every 2 years, they can serve 4 2-year terms. Every 2 years, they pop up. Next election will be in May, first Tuesday in May 2021. So we're not too far away from another election. So those people, right, are elected by roughly 12 to 13% of the public. So of all the registered voters in San Antonio, only about 12% elect the city council. Most of those votes, so each of these 10 districts has a representative, right? Most of those votes come out of districts 8, 9, and 10, right? 8, 9, and 10 probably account for nearly 50 to 55% of the entire vote in the city comes out of districts 8, 9, and 10. That's where the bulk of them are. Now, the rest of these districts also vote, but down at City Hall, every one of them has that same value of a vote. Everyone carries one vote. So you may have District 9 voting at a super high 25% clip, and District 4 down on the southwest side votes as a whole maybe at a 4 or 5% clip. They still have the same vote power down at City Hall. So 10 people, the mayor is elected at large. The mayor actually has no singular different voting pattern or voting authority than anybody else in the council. The mayor has the rule to be able to call the agenda and control the meeting, which is powerful. So the mayor in San Antonio is actually a very weak mayor system. The city of San Antonio is a manager-led city organization, right? That's how it works. So the bulk of the power comes from the city manager. So it's a manager-council form of government. And there are multiple types of governments in the state of Texas under the Texas Constitution. But in San Antonio, the manager has the bulk of the power, but our mayor has the ability to drive the conversation, right? So we've had some great mayors and we've had some absolutely horrible mayors. And those mayors that weren't as effective because they could not rally support. They did not understand what the community believed in. They weren't out there making it happen. They probably had maybe they weren't as charismatic as the next mayor, but whatever it was, they weren't able to engender this belief or support. And weak mayors don't accomplish much. I mean, they just don't. And then they have to, because they're one of 11 votes, their pool has to be out to go out and try to drag other council members along on their agenda items. And what we've seen the last few years is we have a weak mayor form of government, yes, but we also have a weak mayor. So when you have those two combinations going, a mayor who cannot, right? You can watch the council yourself. The dissension amongst the council is palpable, right? So there is no coalition supporting Ron Nirenberg right now. But what you see is all these different council members with their differing views being united around a few core issues right now. And those are some things we're going to talk about this evening. But for you to get involved in it, number one, you got to know who they are and where they show up and what those boundaries and lines look like. And you can find it on Google. You can hit San Antonio City Council districts and it'll bring up a map and you'll know where you live, where you live and who you can vote for. If you don't know your council person, you've got to find out because that election is coming, right? What are we in August right now? We're talking 8-9 months from the next city council election. So we have a chance to turn some of this because what is happening in the city? So point one, right? Vocal minority has the voice, period. They have the pulpit. They're driving the conversation. This defund police and all this stuff we saw today at City Hall, what we saw yesterday at the B session meeting, all of those issues going on right now are the minority viewpoint in the city of San Antonio. And I'm going to talk to you what I mean. Not minority in race. I'm talking about just for you people, don't freak out. I'm talking about minority in numbers, right? Trigger. So that right there, right? They have the microphone. Number one. Number two is we're coming to a social reckoning. And I don't know if you're with me on this or not, but hear me out on this one. We're coming to a social reckoning point, right? On our city as a whole. And this is now a point in time where you have to defend your faith. You have to sit there and talk about your principles, what you value, right? Your taxation issues, where we're spending our money, right? Our budget, how we're using our sales tax money, these progressive and liberal initiatives that are breaking ground across the city and have been for the last 3, 4, 5 years are about to come to a critical tipping point to where this city can become Austin or Seattle in the next 2 to 5 years, right? We can just go off the end and completely become Austin because right now we're like little Austin. That's what we are. We're like twice as big as Austin, but little Austin. Okay, so we try to act and follow anything that happens in Austin. A bunch of follower and pandering council members is what we have right now. But they don't stand up for what they believe for themselves. They like to do what's happening in other cities. For instance, adopting all these police issues and everything. Just because Minneapolis is eroding themselves and Portland's blowing themselves off the map doesn't mean the city of San Antonio has to, but our city hall thinks that's the state of the world. Therefore, it's the state of San Antonio. So I'm here to tell you that the next election, right? It is a critical mass decision-making point because the road to recovery. Now, COVID-19 is something nobody, right, could have understood, caught, or been prepared for. Coronavirus took us all by surprise, and it's a test of leadership. It's a test under fire, fine, and it's everybody. But that's not going to bring us, right? We have to find out what are the points and issues, and how is this thing going to move going forward to get us out of the problems that COVID-19 has created. The leadership moment is no longer now. It's sitting at this point, right? The leadership moment's in November. How we vote as a community, how we vote as a state and a country is coming in November. And then in May, it's going to show us the path going forward for the city of San Antonio. So I truly believe that the minority voice is growing, right? Those that want to argue, again, not minority in race, I'm talking about minority in numbers. The small percentage of people driving the conversation at City Hall do not represent the whole of us as a city. They don't. For instance, downtown today at City Council, they were talking about the upcoming budget. Today was budget day at City Hall. So the initial budget was presented to the City Council. And I don't know, 300 comments were about defunding the police. 300. So there was very little, I think one or two voices in support of public safety and police officers. Now, this is what I would tell you. Sure, 300 people may have signed up to talk in favor of defunding police. And I want to tell each and every one of you that showed up, I do respect it. It's your voice. You have your 3 minutes at City Hall is just as good as my 3 minutes. We have the same pull at City Hall. But the truth is that defund police movement, everybody's showing up today saying we need to reallocate and move resources out of SAPD. They do not represent the will of this community. They don't. I'm willing to bet that the supermajority of residents and citizens in this city, voters, support police and do not want to defund the San Antonio Police Department or take one stinking dollar away from them. The majority want nothing to do with what was said today at City Hall. The only way we prove that's at the ballot box. But this is that reckoning point. Like sometimes when you're in a tough spot in life or your family is, or things are changing at the office, sometimes you have to go through a cleansing moment to make sure you know what the going forward path is, right? And in a cleansing moment, sometimes it has to all completely change because it's gotten so out of whack and so far behind that your only path forward is new, is throw it out and start fresh. And we are at that point, right? Because we've gone so far down this path that 13% that voted these people into office, you got to remember, 13% voted, but most of them only win with 55% of the votes. So really only about 7% elected the people at City Hall. 7% of the voters are deciding all this. So for you to grab a hold of what you believe in and say, okay, how am I going to get involved and make this happen? How is City Hall going to work for me? First off, is you just got to know what in the world is happening, right? And grab the information from all sources. Don't be afraid to read. And look, I think the Express News is a total rag, and I think they're full of it, right? And I think that they don't represent the willpower of the city. Their circulation's been dropping for years. They're selling their building. I mean, look. The Express News is a joke of a newspaper. We all know that, and the great majority of our city doesn't even read it. But what you want to know is what are these people thinking or what kind of propaganda are they putting out there, right? If we should defund anybody, we should defund the media, man. I'm telling you right now, they're responsible for a lot of the attitude and atmosphere that's going on. The Rivard Report, we got to be careful what they're out there saying as well. They're a mouthpiece for the city. Some of our news stations, KSAT 12, KENS, we got to watch them all. So it's okay to grab as much information as you can so that you know even what the person who you are staunchly, you're against, you don't believe. Like, we're against the Express News, as is most of San Antonio. So knowing that, at least I still read them, right? I still find ways to find out what propaganda they're putting out because it's important so you know what issues there are to fight. And the same thing goes for City Hall. And if you didn't know, City Hall meets twice a week, right? Their core meetings occur on a Wednesday and a Thursday. So this is some of that education stuff we were talking about. City Hall meets on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. They call it a B session. And at that B session, they talk about upcoming policy initiatives and ideas. Now, throughout the week, there are committee meetings that are sprinkled in. I'll give you an example. Salo, I think I got a graphic that says, let's see here, the meetings. There's one that says City Hall meetings. City meetings. This one? Yeah, look at that. Look at this right here. Okay. This is a list of the meetings just from this week that are going on at City Hall. Check that out. You got a City Council A session. You got a special meeting on the 14th. You got a Building Standards Board. You've got public comment. By the way, the City Council met today and there was no public, it was a private online Zoom meeting. Not private, but it was a online meeting format. They didn't have anybody come in. You got the Mayor's Commission on the Status of Women. You got City Council special sessions popping up. more public comments. Look at this. This is just this B session, the A session today. You see it right there. This is just 1 week of meetings. All this is happening around you every single day. Someone is working on a policy item, and a lot of the bad ideas we see coming through City Hall start at some of these smaller committee meetings. For instance, community health and equity. I know you can't see it, but it's right there about in the middle of the road there. Says this Friday, August 7th at 10 a.m., a video conference on community health and equity. Ooh, man, you did a good one right there. So community health and equity is popping up at 10 a.m. via video conference. You can watch it live. You can click this. By the way, you can find all this at San Antonio Legistar, Legistar. Go Google it. It'll bring up all the meeting agendas. Now, I know this isn't sexy, fun stuff. We're not making fun of memes and Joe Biden, but this is the important stuff that's happening in the city. Every one of these meetings is occurring every day of the week. So B sessions are future policy planning ideas. A session is the big show that happens on Thursday mornings at 9 o'clock. It's the regularly scheduled city council meeting, and that's where they do all the votes and they finalize and codify information. Now, throughout each one of those meetings, public comment is allowed up to 3 minutes at the discretion of the mayor. He can raise it or lower it as much as he pleases. He runs the meeting. But you can make public comment at every one of these meetings. Everyone. Now, I'm here to tell you, I was on the city council. Most of the time, the decisions are made prior to you even walking in there as a citizen with a chance to say what you think. If you go downtown on Thursday at the A session and they're about to vote on something and you go down there to speak, chances are their minds are pretty much already made up. That's how City Hall works. All this is done behind the scenes. It's like a giant act when it comes out in front of the public. So you can't win your policy initiative. Let's say you think it's ridiculous that we're going to fund VIA. All right, VIA's coming up for a vote. We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's say you think it's ridiculous that we're going to pump tens of millions of dollars into VIA. And you go downtown on Thursday when they're about to vote on it and you say, you know what, I'm against this, and you walk off. I mean, you did your civic duty, you showed up, but the fight isn't when the vote's about to happen at City Hall. You know when the fight is, right? When the argument is? It's when the idea first pops up. That's it. When somebody at one of these smaller committee meetings floats an idea like, hey man, I think we should put solar panels on every building in San Antonio. I don't care what it costs. The taxpayers should pay for it because Greta Thunberg said we should, and Norway does it, so we should do it too. Yippee, right? So if somebody comes up with a ridiculous idea like that, it always starts in one of these smaller meetings. But if you're not there, right, or somebody, right, your organization, if you're not following the track of these things, then before you know it, you got a solar panel on every building in the city that you're paying for. Now, that's an extreme example, but it could start as something as simple as this Friday, right? This Friday, the City Council, Community Health and Equity is going to vote on. Now, the committee meetings, they only vote to pass it to the big meeting, right? So the full council is the one on a Thursday afternoon. They're the ones that decide the actual policy initiatives. They're the one that does the final vote. But these committee meetings have little tiny votes, right? And they get to choose what becomes the next item on the agenda at City Hall. This Friday, they're voting on racism as a public health crisis, right? So the Community Health and Equity team is going to be debating that, right? The council members, which I can tell you right now, I can guarantee you City Council will pass a resolution stating that racism is a public health crisis. Never mind the fact that the real public health crisis is out at COVID-19. Racism, and you have to, Austin did it, Portland did it, the nation is on this path, right? So several cities are out passing a resolution. Now I'm going to tell you this about resolutions. They're an absolute total waste of time. They're pandering moves that simply say, hey, this is what we believe. Racism is a public health issue, and this is what we think. It's like the China virus, right? Like you couldn't call coronavirus the Wuhan flu. They did a resolution about that. Really? I mean, this is what a resolution is. It's something that has no teeth whatsoever. So to say that, oh, well, racism is a public health issue, that's not where the problem lies. We all know that there are racist issues in our country, and color, race, economic issues, socioeconomic. the wage gap. You can go right down the line. Cities have problems in this country. They're embedded and rooted for hundreds of years. We get that. We can have those honest debates. But resolutions like that, the one this Friday they're going to be debating, that starts a policy initiative, right? So somebody says, well, you know what? Racism is a public health issue. Never mind COVID-19, all that other thing right now. In fact, they were talking the other day how COVID-19 disproportionately affecting people of color and other races. So here comes this resolution. By the way, it matches what happens in Austin. It matches what happened in Portland. It's matching Seattle, city of San Antonio, a bunch of followers. But the resolution means nothing. What you want to watch for is what policy initiatives come out of that, right? Does a policy initiative come out of that we start to take away money from the San Antonio Police Department because these same groups that are downtown protesting today, every one of them said that the SAPD is racist and they murder people in the streets of San Antonio? Like, I don't know what city these people are living in. I don't know what city some of these activists are living in when they're talking about people getting hunted in our cities, in San Antonio on our streets. It's completely untrue. But that's not the point right now. The point is, though, the policy initiative starts somewhere in some committee meeting and it bubbles up. So committee meetings every day of the week. The B session on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock downtown dictates what will end up for a final vote at an A session on Thursday. And I know that's not exciting stuff, but if you want to make a change, we're going to have to show up en masse, right, with our voice and our votes to change the path of City Hall, because it's absolutely broken. I'm going to give you a few examples right now, because if we don't show up, they're going to pass it, and we will eventually see things that affect each and every one of us. And we're all going to look at each other and say, man, I don't know when that started, but I wish I would have known, right? Or I would have voted against that. Or how did that person get elected? That's one I hear all the time. How did that idiot ever get elected? Right? And people ask me all the time. I said, look, man, you don't show up, you don't vote. You elect someone just as much with your apathy as you do your action. So your action being, I vote. Your apathy meaning, my vote don't matter. Screw it, I ain't even showing up. Doesn't make a difference. Or, hey man, I forgot it was election day. I don't know how you forget it's election day. But that's total apathy, right? You don't even show up. You don't even vote. Your non-vote is one less vote the other side has to get to beat you and the things you believe in. And the things this city believes in is not what's happening at City Hall right now. It's just that people are not voting. Those of us in the opposition of what's happening at City Hall know that the majority of San Antonio believes in the basics of faith, believes in the basis of public safety, streets and sidewalks, job creation, and small business. That's where we live, right? You sprinkle in education over that and some transportation issues, and that's the core basics of City Hall. We know what they are. It's not defunding the police. Now, you're going to read today, and you're going to see it in the news tonight, that, oh, well, nobody was talking about defunding police in the city budget. That was never mentioned. It's true. The city budget came out today, and it had $8 million additional dollars for public safety. Thank God. But then every comment and multiple city council members said, guess what? We got to find a way to defund the police department. So while it's not in the budget now, it will be discussed and passed in the future. My prediction is there will be a defund police, a reallocation of police resources in the San Antonio city budget. They were already talking about it today. Hundreds of people came down and commented on it. Where were you? That would be my point. How are you going to make sure your voice is heard? This November, there's going to be 3 or 4 ballot initiatives that are going to be absolutely huge for the future of our city. So we have to hinge our thoughts and our ideas on how can I at least know so that I can go vote with some knowledge, and what are those people downtown really doing? I was reading a KSAT story, and I didn't have it up, but the KSAT story said that there was no defunding the police. It's not in the budget. City Manager Eric Walsh made that clear, that we're not defunding. We're not going to do this haphazardly. However, council members were all about it. So it's going to happen. And it can't be. This is my argument. It can't be $1. You cannot eliminate $1 from an understaffed and underfunded San Antonio Police Department. They are. And their answer is, well, you know what? If it's a certain type of crime, I'd rather have a community ambassador show up, or a mental health worker, or if, or somebody along those lines, as if the crime, right? As if removing the peacekeeper. Today, San Antonio was announced has the 4th highest murder rate increase in the nation. 4th highest. All right. You want to remove police? 4th highest. Come on. Crime is not going to go away because you pull the police officer away and you put a counselor there. Because the situations are so toxic at that moment on multiple calls of multiple varieties. The situation is so toxic at that moment. You don't know what you're rolling up on. You just don't know, right? So your preparation level comes from a training of safety and security, neighborhood protection, license to carry, use of force laws and regulations, and then you make all the adjustments and calls when you get on scene at that moment. Can you imagine a mental health therapist shows up because it's a call on, God forbid, any particular issue? It could be anything. It could be an assault. Could be anything. Let's just say it's a drug issue, a drug overdose. Could be anything. And a mental health professional or a community ambassador shows up and the situation is reported or called in as one item and it ends up being something toxic and dangerous on the other side. The police officer has to be there no matter what. The police officer has to be there. Can we train them? Can we make them better, more awareness, better equipment? Of course we can. But that's not what your San Antonio City Council will do. They will defund the police. They may call it something else in the next 2 months. What they'll call it is, we're going to reallocate and we're going to make sure that the proper dollars go to the proper persons showing up at an active call. Not everything's an emergency responder item. We can send out a mental health counselor. Let me tell you this one. I heard one of them say this today. We don't have to send a police officer out on a homeless call. That one is about as naive as it gets. I went out and multiple times on a homeless intervention calls with the San Antonio Police Department. Multiple times we approached the homeless person and they have a stash of weapons. Knives, homemade. Shanks is what they were. Knives that big, homemade. They protect their zone and their area. So to say you don't need a police officer making a homeless intervention call, the police officer has to be present because that situation could go south fast and someone's got to go hands-on. And who's going to do it? The therapist? No. And you can't intervene and talk that down. I've seen it in person. Sure, you can sometimes, but if you have to have a decision-making process, there has to be a commensurate use of force that slows down somebody from making a bad decision and thinking they can do something at that moment. So on that homeless call, I walked up on it with the police officer. The guy had a shank about 12 inches long. If it was just me, chances are, let's just say I'm a licensed therapist and I walked up to it myself. Hey, I'm Councilman Brockhouse. Hello, I'm here to help you, homeless man. The chances of him shanking me or getting into a threatened position, super high. Greg Brockhouse, the councilman or therapist, walks up with the San Antonio police officer who's armed and prepared to handle multiple stressful situations, who's trained to make the decision. Yeah, that homeless guy is going to think about 15 different ways before he says, you know what? I think I'm going to stab Greg. No. The police officer is just the deterrent factor of the officer is huge. So that's why we want them on those calls. So the San Antonio City Council is going to attempt to defund the police department because they've all jumped in with Black Lives Matter and Reliable Revolutionaries. They're all in with them. And that's not to say, look, again, you people out in the world, right? We're all sitting there trying to navigate our path and figure out what's right or wrong or what word here matters and what word there hurts. And we got the word salad out there on the things you can say and not say. It hurts. It's hard to even figure out what matters, right? What word triggers who at what time of the day? That's the world we live in right now. I don't know a soul that thinks Black lives don't matter. I don't know a stinking person who thinks that. So in itself, right, that movement, people believe that. I think they find that a noble and worthy cause. Absolutely. The actions behind it, defunding police and fixing SAPD or reallocating resources or putting the money to, well, let's take money from SAPD and put it to healthcare. Let's take money and put it to housing. Let's take money and put it into workforce education. Sure. And then we're living in freaking Mad Max, man. We're living in Thunderdome, dude. This is the purge without our police officers. So you can go learn all you want, right? And you can put the money into daycare services, but your kids won't be able to walk down the street because the police officers are gone. And the minute you defund them, de-escalate, remove their opportunity and training to make the decisions, right? And you try to bring that, boy, that's chaos. That's chaos personified. So be very careful. The city council will do it. The news tonight, I saw some stories, like I said, is saying, no, they're not going to do it. It wasn't in the budget. There's more money coming to police. Well, if you didn't listen to the comments today, I'm telling you right now, the comments today were indicative of defunding the police. So watch this battle at City Hall over the next 2 months. Actually, the next month, because the next month they're going to be building the budget meetings and everybody's going to be showing up. The budget cycle started today in its presentation to the public and will run for about 6 weeks, and they vote on it in October, the 2021 budget. Actually, they vote on it in September, and the fiscal year starts October 1st. The fiscal year for the city doesn't start January 1. It starts October 1, the new year. So the vote's coming next month in about 5 or 6 weeks. They will do it. They will attempt to remove money from and they can paint it any damn way they want. If they pull $1 from the police department, it's defunding. And don't let them do it. So here are some items, right? And then we're going to talk about action and what we're going to do. Because one of the things I see is that it's time to go after every one of these initiatives. So mark my words, we need to fight City Hall on defunding the police. We got to do it as a team, as a family, as a city. We got to get the voices out there. So we got to fight defunding SAPD or fixing it, whatever they want to call it. We got to fight it. We got to put our numbers together because the truth is our numbers are bigger than their numbers. That's the hard truth. Our numbers are bigger than the activist numbers. 100%. Guaranteed. The voice of the citizen of San Antonio far outweighs the voice of the activist. That doesn't mean that the activist doesn't have points or that they're not virtuous or they're not doing what they believe or what they believe is not, none of that. And that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Don't get your feelings hurt. What I'm saying is, though, that the majority voice of this city does not believe that we have to tear down public safety. We're going to have that battle and fight. So we have to, number one, stand up now. So we're going to have to oppose this. We're going to have to figure out ways to do it together. We're going to vote on pre-K for SA. We're going to vote on a VA allocation. Can you bring up that on deck at City Hall, I think page 1? So there are items coming up. And these are the ones I want to get on your radar. And then I make sure, you know what I need to make sure? Let's see if anybody else is saying. Michelle Gonzalez, who must not sit idly by. I personally, Michael Southern, I do not believe that if 1,000 of us showed up, they would do anything different. Michael's absolutely right. You got to vote them out. Nonprofits, petition to remove city council. Why should we listen to BLM? That organization is not responsible. Remember, they're Marxists. SAPD has a mental health unit for a long time. Greg Brooks, you're absolutely right. A model mental health unit that was advertised and shown on ABC. Agendas. Most people cannot handle a dangerous situation. You got that right. Most of us can't. So back to the on deck at City Hall. These are the things that are coming in November. And this is some of the points I wanted to hit on. We're going to have to organize. I haven't figured it out yet, but we have to oppose these items. So tonight's the first call out that it's time to stand up and build a loyal opposition to City Hall. There's a lot of groups out there that are trying it right now. They're trying to put it together. And they're working really hard. You know, they're trying to build their databases. They're trying to start in political meetings. They're trying to start neighborhood associations. They're trying to say, hey, man, how can I build something? How can we get people to go out to vote? How can we make sure our voice is heard? We have to do that together. Look, when I ran for mayor, we got 49% of the vote, man. We were growing. That movement was there. They came at us with everything, right? At everything they had, they came after us. And our family, my campaign, me, they came at me with everything. And we kept plugging away. And we nearly pulled it off. We lost by 1 point talking about these things I'm talking about tonight. So don't tell me that there isn't enough willpower to get out and vote. Don't tell me that doesn't exist in our city. This city is ripe for change. It's ripe to throw the bums out. It's ripe for activity and action. What it doesn't have is an organizational flow to it. And it happened in a campaign. This I'll tell you about my campaign for mayor. Every week we were growing. We never receded. We never went backwards. We were always growing in spite of everything. And the other side will throw everything at you to win. And if you get in the fight and you want to be an activist and you want to have your voice heard, they will come after you with everything they have. They will lie about you. They will steal. They will cheat. They will do whatever they need to. They'll humiliate your children and your family to get you to stop from challenging City Hall or the way things have been for 25 years. That has to end in November and May. The last campaign, we almost pulled it off, right? I was super proud of how we did. Always growing. You don't get the 49% in this city of a vote without thinking, man, maybe what I'm saying is resonating. It's hitting home. And that was only over 65 or 70 days, people. That's all it took, right? We ran out of time. If we had more time, we kept pushing, we would have won. But the point is, elections are on election day. And if you ain't got the votes, you only need +1, 50 +1, and you win. And the other side won to their credit. But that doesn't mean we weren't right in our goals, our ideas, and what we were pushing on. That's where I think the city's at. So we're going to vote on, we have to watch what's happening with defund SAPD. We're going to have to fight that in new and creative ways. And we're going to have to think about it because, man, it's going to, if we don't stand up, they're going to take money out of your neighborhood. Councilman Clayton Perry today said online at the city council meeting and said, you can take the police officers from every other district. You want to give them up? Go ahead. Do not touch a police officer in District 10. Do not defund District 10. He's not on board with it. Lone voice. All the others were, well, you know what? I think it would be nice to have a counselor show up on a homeless call. What the hell are you talking about? Right? But that's where they're going. We have to fight it. And we have to support our first responders. By the way, just to reiterate, for the 1,000th time, supporting police officers does not mean you think Black lives don't matter. I am so sick and tired of people drawing a parallel and saying just because you support public safety, police and fire, that therefore you hate black people. That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. Of course, everyone, I believe this. Are there racist idiots in the world? Hell yes, there is. And do I think they have no business in our country? Absolutely, 100%. So, you know, if I could wish them get the hell out of our city, if I knew and I had the power to remove people who I knew in their heart and in their mind are 100% hating a person because of their, of course, we don't want that person in San Antonio. 100% agree with that. And if that person's a cop, same as the person if they work at HEB or if they're a member of Bexar County or they're on the San Antonio City Council. I'm thinking there's a couple of racists myself on the San Antonio City Council. I may think there's one or two racists on the San Antonio City Council. You know what they're racist against? White people. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, racism isn't exclusive just to one race. So, I think you can do both. You can be pro-police and public safety and safe streets and neighborhoods. And you can say to the world, Black lives do matter. I said it. Really wasn't that hard. And I could do it while wearing a mask. Oh my God. I'm a conservative, but I'm not. What do you mean? Brockhouse is not a complete and total animal? Come on, people. I'll wear a mask and say at the same time, Black lives do matter. And by the way, God bless our peacekeepers. The world didn't melt. Hold on a second, man. We didn't go up in smoke. That's what we have to stand up for. The right and opportunity for us to disagree, believe differently, and support each other at the end of it because we are Americans. And the vote counts at the end of the day. That's the beauty of America. Like, you may think it. I tell you, there's always a Bible verse, and I've been telling people this more and more lately. There's a Bible verse, that obviously says, wherever two or more are gathered. What's that verse? I can't remember it.
Two or three are gathered in his name.
Wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, right, I am there. Basically saying that if 2 people of faith are in somewhere and they're praying, they're in God's word, that God is present at that moment, right? Now I'm also in today's world, it's wherever 2 or more are gathered, people are arguing. Like that's there is that kind of dissension, and you can't put 2 people in a room without they're coming out something's amiss, right? Something's wrong. Oh my God! And let 2 of them be the husband and wife. Then something's really on. But look, we are we are in a tight spot, but we get together and we do that. So we're going to have to grab that ball, people, and stand up for our police officers, because the other side is standing up for their beliefs. The other side over here is standing up for theirs. This side over here, and we should be pro-police. That's what we should be as San Antonians. At the same time, trying to find out ways to root out the issues that are systemic in nature. I'm 100% on board with that. But that doesn't mean you throw out 99.9% of our police department because you think we're Minneapolis. I'm sorry, George Floyd, horrific issue, right? That will be adjudicated and that will be held to the standard of the law in Minneapolis. That is not San Antonio. So for that, we are now adopting all this. So if we don't stand up and come say, hey, look, man, hold on a second here. I do believe Black Lives Matter 100%. And I worry, look, I worry too. I would worry. I had Chris Herring on my show, came on my show and said, you know what, I worry about my son. He's a young black man driving down the street in San Antonio. Greg, it's different than your son driving. I'll concede that. I said, we can have that conversation. Let's talk about it. How can we make that better? That's dialogue. But that's not what they want right now. They want to remove the police. They want to defund them because, well, they think people are getting murdered in the streets every day in San Antonio. It's just not factual. And that's the key. We have to deal in fact. The real use of force incidents have been decreasing, right? There is a rising crime rate. And you want to defund the police when the city is the 4th highest gross rise in murder rate across the country? And you want to defund the police? Think about it, people. Think about it. Defund. Point 2 that we're voting on. Pre-K for SA. Bring that back up on the, if you can, Salo. So here's what's happening. At stake in November, and the deadline here is August 17th. We'll talk about that in a second, but there are some petitions coming. People will be collecting petitions to remove collective bargaining and civil service. It's going to end up at a public vote. And in doing that, they're calling it Fix SAPD. Nothing needs to be fixed. No. Fix SAPD to them is defunding. And if you think otherwise, and some people are going to blast me on it, hold on a second, Greg. Hold on. Just because you fix SAPD doesn't mean you defund it. My friends, if you pull dollars away from the department and put them into other resources, that is defunding. Just because you call it reallocating doesn't mean you're not defunding. And by the way, when you try to remove civil service, which, look, postmen, city employees at the county, Bexar County, working at the tax office, working at Lackland Air Force Base, those are all civil service employees. Police officers and firefighters have civil service protections. Fix SAPD and some of these people, they want to collect petitions, and they're going to be doing it from now through the end of the year to take away a police officer's civil service rights. But they'll leave them civil service rights for all these other employees. But police officers lose their civil service rights. If you do that, you remove protections, dollars, and resources. That, my friend, is defunding police. Collective bargaining is coming up. So watch for that. It's going to happen. Pre-K for SA. This vote is coming up in November. Pre-K for SA is going to be reauthorized for 8 years if it passes. Pre-K for SA gets 1/8 of a cent sales tax, and they get about $40 million a year. $40 million a year. And I think they graduate, I think in the normal range, they're at about 2,000 students a year. Equals about $24,000 per year per student in Pre-K for SA. So the vote is coming to reauthorize it for another 8 years. All right, we're in the middle of a pandemic. People are losing their jobs. They're not eating. They don't have transportation. They can't get to work. The jobs are gone. They can't make ends meet. And here comes Pre-K for SA asking for $40 million of your tax dollars every year for the next 8 years. And I'll do the math for you. That's $320 million. We're going to vote on that in November. The far right is workforce development. The mayor has a program as part of his COVID-19 response where they will allocate sales tax, because there's a portion of sales tax right now, 1/8 of a cent, that goes to greenways and linear creeks and water protection, aquifer protection. As we all know, San Antonio has a long, super long history. And again, I'm sorry, tonight's just education. I'm sorry I'm not doing a lot of funny stuff tonight. It's like teaching night. And I apologize for that, but I felt like I needed to get this stuff out because we're going to have to start getting active in opposing these items. 1/8 of a cent goes to the creekways, the greenways, the linear creek trails, aquifer water protection. Those have been core issues for many years in San Antonio, especially the water side of it. We've always had water issues over, decades out of the Edwards Aquifer. So we've been purchasing land, protecting the aquifer, protecting our prime water source for years with these dollars. So we're going to vote, though, to take that tax away from. This is coming on the ballot. It hasn't been completely defined yet either, by the way. They're going to take that 1/8 of a cent sales tax, and they want you to vote it to give it to workforce development. It's $150 million over about 4 years. Now, this means that they're going to target, they're saying 40,000 residents. Previously, they said about 10,000, but now it's 40,000 because they recognize it's not a lot of people, and spending $150 million on that's kind of crazy. But now they're saying 40,000 people, and they're going to offer tuition assistance, daycare, so child care, and they're going to pay a stipend, right? A weekly stipend. That's what they're doing now with some of our CARES Act dollars. They allocated about $70 million of CARES Act money from the federal government to this workforce development program. Now they want to expand it by taking your taxes, not giving the money back to you, not saying, hey, man, you know what? Now is not the time to be taxing people. Or, hey, man, let's take that money and completely invest it in small business, create jobs, right? Because you can workforce train anybody you want. I agree with that. I think workforce training matters. Not at $150 million, paying their daycare, paying them a stipend. Right now we're seeing people don't necessarily even want to go back to work, although the unemployment benefit ran out. So people will probably start looking for jobs here soon, unless the federal government acts. But just because you train them doesn't mean there's a job. We need the employer. We need the small businesses funded, operated, and ready to go. We need to incentivize our small business world to come back and open their doors again so that they can hire 3, 5, 10 people, right? Or they can create or start, whether it's any tech industry, bios, whatever you're in. Or if you have just a taco truck you decide to open up on 151 because you want to start a movie theater, you want to, whatever, man. You want to start a little restaurant, a coffee shop. Don't make any difference to me. You're not going to do it because you don't have the money to start it. But they're going to train people to do different types of jobs. And that training is going to cost $150 million. We don't know the specifics exactly what this is going to look like yet. But as we do, we need to talk about and advertise it because I think it's all wrong. I think the allocation of these resources, and this is the mayor's personal project. Council members today and yesterday at the briefing on this workforce development item had a lot of concerns, especially about who's going to handle the money. Like who's gonna manage this $150 million? And how are you going to ensure that these people are going to go to school, their grades are going to be okay, and then they're actually going to go work in the field that they trained in? There's a lot of unknown in this workforce development program, but one of the bigger things to be afraid of is who's going to run the program. I'm hearing it's Cops Metro and Project Quest. We are going to dig into that. I don't know if it's true yet, but if that's true, and Project Quest, who have received hundreds of millions of dollars of city money over the years and have no real track record of success to show that they deserve another $150 million, we're going to dig into that. And Cops Metro is a community organization. Used to be the old Citizens Organized for Public Service. I think that's what it stood for. But Cops Metro is an organization in San Antonio that well, frankly, they like to throw around their political weight. They used to have a lot of political power back in the day. They were part of the Fighting the Good Government League. Cops Metro came up in the 70s and 80s, and they became an activist organization many, many years ago. But they've lost a lot of their clout at City Hall, and they're not what they once used to be, right? Because their tactics were not appreciated at City Hall. A lot of bullying tactics, and they threatened, I'm going to vote you out if you don't give us our millions. There's a lot of issues with how Cops Metro approaches city council members, and they did it to me. I mean, they tried to threaten me and try to make it seem like we're going to get you out of office, or we're going to work against you if you don't give us what you want. And that's part of activism, and I'm fine with that. That doesn't bother me in the least bit. But they are the sponsors of Project Quest. So they're running Project Quest, and Project Quest is taking all that money. And then they're going to allocate that resources out, and their level of success over the last 25 years or so has been questionable. Questionable. So we have to figure out Project Questionable, but we have to figure out, can they handle that money? So let's see who's going to run the program. I think it's super important. We have to figure it out and find out who, why, what, and where they're going to spend that cash, and where is it going to end up? Whose bank account is going to be driving the $150 million? So let's add this up so far. $320 million, $150 million. So now we're at $470 million you're going to vote on in November. Pre-K for SA, workforce development. $407.5 billion during the worst economic meltdown this city has seen in forever. This is worse than the 2008 crisis. The city shut down. Pay attention. Now, VIA is coming back over the top as well for a vote in November. They have decided to put themselves to the back burner. Their vote will be on the ballot, and it will simply read, in 4 years, check this out. I can't even say this without laughing. VIA is going to say, please give us the 1/8 cent sales tax when workforce development is done in 4 years. Then VIA gets the 4 years. Actually, VIA gets it in perpetuity for all time. VIA is going to put themselves in the back seat for 4 years and wait. So in November, you're going to vote on taxing yourself in 2024. What in the hell is that? That is just ridiculous. But what that is the powers of VIA working with City Hall, specifically the mayor, to not hurt their $500 million pre-K and workforce development. So they're telling VIA to shut up and go away for 4 years. And VIA was going to call that election on their own, to do it by themselves, and let's put it to a vote. Now, we can sit here and debate VIA and how full their buses are all day long in their routes, but I've been an advocate for VIA. I think VIA deserves cash. We need to make sure that transportation, you can workforce train them, but there may be no job, and then they have no method to get to church, school, work, or whatever. VIA plays a role in our city at the right cost with the right technology and infrastructure. That's where VIA is going to be most successful. But this vote in November, come on now. We're going to vote to tax ourselves in 2024. Oh boy, we have got to fight these. So these are the issues that are wrapped around that we're looking at and we're facing. And I know we're getting near the end of it right here. It's like 7:48. 46. Oh my gosh, we got to get wrapping up. But look, those are the issues that are facing us. And if we don't figure out how to wrap the opposition around and put out fair and reasoned arguments and run a political campaign against these items, they're going to pass. And it's tough in November. Part of the reason they put these elections, these ballot items in November, it's because it's easier to win in November than it is in May. That's a political reality. In May, there's about 120,000 people that are going to vote. This fall, we're going to see a lot of people vote. And a lot of people, I don't know, we're going to see 60% turnout maybe. We're going to see over 500,000 people vote. It's going to be huge. I said that on purpose. It's going to be huge. So a lot of people are going to vote. And it's difficult to get your message out to 500,000 people in November. But it's a lot easier in May. So they purposely put these into November. And they're hoping for a lack of voter knowledge is what they want. And they're going to see Oh, Pre-K for SA helps children, and workforce training. That sounds great. I like that. And VIA, I don't know what that means, but you know what? I've already voted yes to these other two, so here we go. They're hoping that voters are not going to pay attention, that they're ignorant, and they're just going to go in there and vote, and they're going to say yes, because they have a propensity to say yes. I think it's time we come back over the top, and we stand up in November. I think we got to oppose each one of these items because I think it's just wrong. I mean, there are components and pieces of them that are completely right. VIA, we need transportation support for those who don't have a car. We need good routes. We need full buses with technology and air conditioning that are inviting to travelers that they can get to point A to point B and not have to make 3 or 4 exchanges, transfers, and it gets out of control. We do need VIA. Let's be very clear here. At the right price, we need VIA. The workforce training and education plan, the mayor's plan, is simply his resume building plan so that he can find his way to Washington, D.C. or governor or whatever the heck Mayor Ron Nirenberg thinks he can be after this. It's also a payoff to his good friends at the Alamo colleges. That's what that is. It's not a well thought out plan at all. And it's going to cause us problems, and it's $150+ million, and they're going to train people on workforce training when we don't even know if the damn employers are going to be here in the city, right? The answer is small business support. The answer is incentivizing, removing taxation and barriers, growing the base of our economic engine is the answer, right? There's a wage gap problem in our city. We 100% know that, right? There are people who have systemically for decades made less wages, and there are poor people that have been poor in this city for the last 40 years. If Ron Nirenberg truly believed that income inequality was a problem in San Antonio, then he would have done something about it. The last 6 years he's been on city council. The last 3 he's been mayor. He doesn't want to do anything about it until he gets more of your tax dollars, and then what he's spending it on is not the answer to it. And is there a component of workforce education? Of course there is. We've got Alamo colleges. We've got other groups in there that are already exercising. Northside Independent School District has adult education programs. There's a lot that's going on in our city. But to pump $150 million plus over 4 years and have it ran by people who have no track record of success or have a very shoddy or shady record of success over there. I mean, who's going to run these programs? Who's going to take our tax dollars? We got to think about that. We have to. And then you layer over the top of that, Pre-K for SA, coming back asking for another $40 million, $24,000 a student per year. That's more than any school district in the city, I think. I have to go verify that, but it's more than most, right? Now, we've learned, and we're going to find out, but I can almost promise you when they come out and start talking about Pre-K for SA, they're going to say it's been a fantastic success. All the metrics point towards it, and there's no way. Sorry, we need more money for it because it's been a fantastic, roaring success. But the problem is we're now faced with this playing field that's completely different. And $40 million a year can go a long way to employing the parents, right, of those kids that are struggling. Because a lot of those parents right now, they got nothing. Those parents feed the children. Right? Do those kids need pre-K? Yes, they need high-quality pre-K. We can put some money or help find ways to get Northside Independent School District better dollars for their pre-K. SAISD, these organizations, Edgewood. Let the educators educate. Don't fall back on the city creating its own charter school. That's what Pre-K for SA is. It's a charter school, right? They've created their own charter school, and the city involved in education was always a bad thing to begin with. Anytime City Hall gets themselves into something, it's a negative. It's just a matter of time before it exposes itself. So Pre-K for SA is going to be a tough one because, look, there are children who are in those programs right now. So you can't just dump everybody out of it. But Northside's super successful, right? And what is SAISD doing? Edgewood, just as much as these school districts are standing up for what they believe in right now and putting kids back in school, the city has to hold them accountable too, right, for their educational issues as well. I mean, it's 50-50. If school districts are going to be pissy with the government can turn around to the school districts and say, well, let's talk about what you're doing. All right, let's talk about your high-quality pre-K education. Because we can't spend $40 million a year over here anymore of taxpayer money. We're struggling just to build streets, sidewalks, keep our police officers and firefighters going, drainage. The basics of our city are in jeopardy because the progressive projects are overtaxing the hell out of us. That's the truth. So we have to talk about pre-K for SA. We're going to talk about VIA. We're going to talk about the workforce development, defund SAPD. Those 4 items are coming up over the next 90 days. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? The answer is this. I think we have to talk about it as much as possible. Get the information out there. We need your name, address, telephone number so that we can feed you information. So we have to build a database because I can tell you right now, the other side's building theirs. They're building it. We need 50,000 names, 70,000 people. Names, telephone numbers, addresses. We need to build a database so that when these items come and it's time to vote, we're able to inform people, right? And then we've got to get people out and registered. And then we got to get them registered to vote, and then they have to get them to actually go vote. You know how monumental a task that is in San Antonio? Oh my God. No one's perfected it. But if we're going to change these things, that's what we need. You're going to have to get involved, and you're going to have to at least say, tell me what the information is. Mike Michalski likes my Sons of Liberty. Tell me what the information is. Be a part of the network that wants to save our city. Because the truth is, this is a take back our city moment. Because if you don't, they will take your money and spend it in the areas they think is right. So the call tonight, to wrap it up, the call tonight is a call of opposition. It's okay to be opposed and to stand up and say you think differently. The other side will attempt to crucify you for it. And crucify is a specific word I chose on purpose. Because if you're a person of faith, these other side are going to just try to destroy you with it. Welcome to the world we live in. If you are a believer in the police department, they will try to destroy you with that. If you're a believer in taxation, removal of taxation and lower tax, they're going to try to destroy you on that. Whatever it is you stand up for, they're going to come after you, man. Be prepared. They're going to try to destroy you. And they're going to say all kinds of things about you, and it'll start with code words, right? Like, oh, you're a racist, man. You're a racist, dude. You're a racist pig. How can you think that, man? You love cops. You hate black people. They're going to go there, man. They're going to try to fight everything we believe in. And then the media is complicit in that, so they're going to help. The Express News, the Rivard Report, they're going to jump in with their lackeys and all of a sudden turn it into this, oh, well, look at this. These people are uninformed and uneducated. You know what? Bunch of Trump followers. Oh, here we go. Right? That's exactly what they're going to do to you. Destroy you. And that's when you know you're on the right path. This is what I tell people too all the time, man. I said, man, Brockhouse, man, the people are coming after you, man. They're tearing you down. I said, yeah, man, I rent free space in their head. I rent free space in their head because I'm just doing what I believe. And their goal is to get people like me and other people who want to see change that are going to get out there and push. Their goal is to get us to shut up and go away. Because if they do, they win. That's it. If they do get us to go away, they win. So we can't let them do that. So that means we have to jump on this information. And nights like tonight, where it's kind of boring information, right? And not a lot of fun. I just wanted to get that out and start that radar for you. Next week, we're going to go do a show, and we're going to bring in 3 or 4 police officers, retired, and we're going to talk about how police officers feel. And I'm willing to bet you're going to hear they respect people of all color, that they respect to try to do their job with love, honor, and discernment. And they want to do that to the best of their ability. I know that's what we're going to hear. And I think it needs to be heard and said because people need to know, especially people of color, that their police department is there to defend and honor them. That has to be said. Next week, we're going to have that conversation. And we're going to do it, hopefully, at Sons of Liberty Gun Works, right there. Hopefully, we'll go down there and do a live shoot at Mike Michalski's place and have a really great conversation about what it means to be a police officer and what it feels like to be one, because it needs to be said. And we'll have some fun with that next week. But that's the call to action. I think it's time we oppose every one of these initiatives. And we have to send a message, right? We have to send the message that, yeah, you don't represent us. You may think you do, but the silent majority is going to rise up and make it happen. Look, if we lose in November, we lose. I'm fine with that. It's not inexpensive to run a campaign like this and to be a voice of opposition, because the other side's going to have a lot of money. They're going to have a ton of money. And you're going to watch all these big dollar people are going to come out and try to fund these campaigns to pass Pre-K for SA, VIA, and the Mayor's Workforce Program. Those three, you're going to see the usual suspects, the same old people that have been running this city for the last 40 years. Are going to trot them on out. They're going to roll them out like Hannibal Lecter on the gurney, and they're going to mouth their talking points. San Antonio needs workforce development. San Antonio needs pre-K for... It's going to be the same stuff. And they're going to say, you people don't know, you just need to listen to us. Same old tired people are going to come out and advocate for this. I can guarantee you, I know who they are. And the best we can do is to oppose it in an honorable way and go to war on it. That's okay. And if we lose, we lose. I mean, it's not the end of the world, man. But at least we stood up and we tried. When we take back our city, that's where we're going. We're going to take it back for faith. We're going to stand up for public safety. Our police officers and firefighters. We're going to respect all people of color when we do it, by the way. Sorry, we're not a bunch of racists. And we believe Black Lives Matter. Just as much as all other races, sure. But we have to have a special focus. I'll agree with that. I'm okay with that. And we should be. We should be okay. And we're going to do it in that manner and way and protect your taxation, protect your dollars, your home, your street, your neighborhood. That's what this city is about, and we've lost track of it. As these pandering city council members have turned around and given away the farm for a small focus, and that has been going on that way for the last 2-3 years. It's little issues that don't make sense. It's not building our city. And these same people that are complaining about the problems we have now have been in charge for the last 10 years. Why are we still listening to them? Why are we still listening when you've had a chance to fix it and now all of a sudden you care? Yeah, no. So that's the charge and challenge. Let's get after it. Next week, we're going to have a great time. Send in your ideas and thoughts. Tonight was a lot of talking, right? Not a lot of fun, but there's a lot of challenges. A lot of information. You want to do some memes to close them out? All right, right, Salo wants to do a meme. Dude, don't get me in any trouble. I'm going to have to fire you.
You want me to choose some?
All right, we're going to do a few memes because I went like super knowledge tonight.
Yeah, I know. Here it is. This is true.
What do you got?
This is true.
Me walking back to the car because I forgot my freaking mask. You know what I love about that one? You know what I love about that one? That's our bird, man. What bird is that? Come on, people.
Bald eagle.
That's the bald eagle, the American bald eagle. And you know what? That's freedom, bro. That's America.
America.
That's America. What else? I love that one, man. That's good. Okay. Now that's Salo. That's Salo's right there. Mine was the bird. That's Rachel Dolezal. That's Rachel Dolezal. Salo, that one's all Salo right there. So he owns each of them. Rachel Dolezal, by the way, if you remember correctly, she turns out she wasn't of African American descent at all. She claimed it. She claimed it. And then said she was. Yeah. She was. Nobody pushed back on that either. No, nobody did that. Or Elizabeth Warren, who said she was a Native American. Nobody pushes back. The Dems within the Dems don't push each other back. But again, you know, you can get away with that kind of stuff all day long. How much longer until Alexa and Siri monitors people for hate speech in their own home? Oh, that's mine, by the way. Yeah, we have to differentiate between me and Salo. Because Salo, when if there's ever another political campaign in the future, Salos have to be clearly labeled Salo meme.
Yes.
Salo meme.
Which was this? Who's this?
Biden rally cried estimated to stretch from one end of the stage to the other. Oh my God. You know, that's more people I've seen at a Biden rally than like ever.
Yeah.
By the way, Joe Biden's winning by 15 points.
Yeah. Like Hillary on election night?
Like Hillary on election night.
Yeah.
Biden campaign says, this is mine. Okay, yeah, this is mine. Biden campaign says he is so close to a VP pick, he can smell her. That's the Babylon Bee. Again, another disclaimer, okay? This is just fun. We don't believe Joe Biden can smell her yet.
Yeah.
But when he gets a chance to, he will. Man crushed by steamroller dice of coronavirus. Come on, bro. Actually, that's a good one, Salah. That is that is absolutely true. What else we got? What else? Oh, I like this one right here. 90% risk of transmission. You're talking to each other, right? 30%, one of you has a mask. 5%, one of you has a mask, the talker, but it's very small. 1.5, two people masked up, and 0% risk of transmission. Black Lives Matter. This is Salah right here. I'm really thinking about getting tested. Sometimes I can't breathe. You can't breathe because you're fat.
I said that.
Hey, man. I got to tell you right now, Skeletor and what's his name? Nacho Libre. You want to watch a movie that's going to make you laugh, and you can watch it 50 times, Nacho Libre is it. That's perfect. Nacho Libre. Thank you. They are really getting tested. This is a duck butt. No politics, no virus, just a duck butt. All right, we went off the rails there at the end. We were on a roll of knowledge. All right, look, man, we appreciate you. Again, tonight was just about education, talking about how City Hall works, things to be careful for. We're going to start to highlight them. We got to get database of information going. People, voters, names. We got to get after it so you can be a part of it. And to all you people on the other side who watch it and say, oh, Brockhouse, you're crazy. This guy hates America. He hates people of color. I mean, whatever. Whatever you say, right? Whatever new thing you want to make up. Like, oh, this guy murders people. I mean, whatever it is you feel like saying during that day about me, please know, number one, that it literally does not affect me at all. In fact, it makes me happy that I get free rent, like I said, in your head, and you can't stop. But know that I invite your opposition. I'll sit and talk to anybody, anytime, over any issue, anywhere. That's how it should be. So for all you haters out there that think, oh man, that guy's a complete and total Trump Jr., he wanna be Trump, he's a racist, he hates Mexicans, he hates black people, whatever it is, lie you're gonna make up, it's not true, but I invite you, come here, right here. Come say the lie right next to me. I'm willing to bet you don't have the courage to stand up for what you believe in right next to me that I have to stand right next to you and say exactly what I believe. I'm challenging the opposition to meet it somewhere, anywhere, and let's have the talk. Because what you will learn is that the lies and the characterizations you talk about people, they get exposed when you sit next to them and you realize Greg appreciates police. Greg also believes Black Lives Matter. Greg also thinks in faith in the proposition of the Bible and love and treating everybody with respect, and that everybody's created in the image of God. Greg, but what do you mean? Hold on a second. Greg loves his wife? I thought he nearly murdered her. I mean, when you sit down side by side and you have the tough conversations and you connect, you may not agree, but at least you got somewhere on it and you understood somebody else a little bit better. I've done it. I've proved it with Reliable Revolutionaries, right? I had a great talk. We ate food afterwards, and it was Pharaoh Clark and Jordan Parks, phenomenal people. I think they're out there in the world, and you know, that's men are from Mars, women are from Venus, right there, man. Like, I am not where they're at. But you know what? We were sitting down afterwards, breaking bread, and they're good people. And the sad part is, you people on the other side that are the total haters, you can't handle that those of us outside of you can come together, work together, and change our city more so than your anger at who this city is, your anger at America, your anger at our Constitution, your anger at what we believe in our faith. Your anger for all that cannot beat our love for the ability to work together and get things done. That's why we're going to win. We may not do it in November. We could do it in May. But if we stand up and for what we believe in and go there and give each other a chance, who cares, man? The vote calls it at the end of the day, 50+1. So thank you. We appreciate you. Always, if you want to come on the show, give me a holler. You want to pop in anytime? I don't care what your opposition is or you're with me, whatever. Let's do it, man. Let's talk. I'll show up at your place. Pick a place. Any time of the week, we'll be there. The broadcast goes on the road. We will next Thursday. 4 retired police officers. Going to be a hell of a conversation at Sons of Liberty Gun Works. We will talk to you soon. The broadcast is officially out.